Hey guys, so I think this video needs a little bit more introduction than I think the average one would. Um, Back in the day, I used to really be into downhill skating, and just to give you an idea of what that is and what it's all about, this is a video I made like when did it come out? In 2012, I made this video, so ages ago now. And it's a video of us going down Mount Ruapehu, which is it's a volcano in the middle of the North Island of New Zealand, and people go skiing there and stuff. So this is the access road in the summer. You can skate it, and it's really great. They have gravity festivals there now, and I'm pretty sure people get up to sort of over 100k on this road. I don't think I ever did, but yeah, it's pretty fun, and the boards are great. So I used to really be into the engineering and design of boards, and we ran a little company for a little while, which made trucks, which are the steering components of the boards. This is a photo of one of those sets of trucks on a couple of sets of boards. This is a photo of one of the runs of production that we did. They were never huge runs. And this is a photo of the CAD. I made it in, I think, 2011 in SolidWorks. Something that happened, well, around that time, there were a couple of companies that were really dominant in that field, and one of them was Era, which was started by and run by a guy called Kevin Reimer, who was a really great skater, and I'm sure he's still the man. I was never as good as him, nowhere near at all. I don't think I ever won a race, and he had like world championships and stuff. Obviously, great guy to start a skate company, and then another guy, I forget his name, but another guy started this Ronin company. He was also a really good speed skater. And the Ronin trucks were really interesting because they had this, they had a second kingpin, and they use this spherical joint that supports the back of the hanger and stops it from sort of twisting. It doesn't take any of your weight because it sits on a urethane bushing, and so it allows the hanger to get compressed up and down, but it doesn't allow the hanger to move very much left to right, which is it's a nice little it makes a difference in how the board behaves and all that. And I was trying to think of ways I could also make the same functionality without impeding their patent. Maybe I could incorporate incorporate my version of this design in the next version of our trucks, which actually they never ended up happening. This was the latest. This was the only design of truck that I ever made, and I was really happy with it. It was high quality. It ran well. There are a few things I would want to change for the next time around, even if I didn't figure out a way of doing something like this. But I was going through my old conversations with one of my friends, Jester, who helped me make these trucks. He actually handled most of the machining and stuff. I just did the design. And I found this in our conversations, which was a Silk V3 that was already version 2 V3 hanger, and the base plate's just a placeholder. It's a crappy design, but the hanger was where the interesting stuff was. This was sort of like a maybe 30% done design, and you can see the design features that they agree quite well with this sort of design. Like, it still has these holes, and this little bit of like a bit of solid mass in there before these end parts. And these thicker end parts are where the precision axles screw in, which is a bit different than a cast truck, because a cast truck has a long, thin axle that runs the whole width of the truck. So yeah, Ronins and Eras, they're made the same way pretty much, use a lot of the same components, but they have this weird and quite cool little spherical joint in there. And I wanted to try and find a way of making that work. And the way that I was thinking about doing it was using a brass or an aluminium bronze or something maybe even aluminium or steel. I don't even know. So this part here would was the part that sort of did that work. It allows the truck to vibrate up and down, move up and down the hanger. You can imagine that if I look at this plane here, the hanger is this part, and the base plate is this bottom bit here, and these are urethane bushings that allow the hanger to flex around this pivot point, but they provide the returning force. So, geez, that looks really cool when you have one component active and the other's not. So yeah, so the way this was going to work is that you'd fix this plate into your hanger using some sort of screw or anything. I obviously didn't get around to designing that in properly. And then the hanger would be restricted in its movement left to right. So because this is only a soft mount, this urethane bushing, the hanger can actually move left and right here. It can sort of, as you look at it now, it sort of like there's the pivot pin at the bottom, and that holds it steady, and there's this urethane in the middle that's trying to hold it, and that urethane flexes this way, and so the point of this in the back is to try and stop that flex, stop that movement. So you also don't want to, I didn't really want to have metal on metal contact in the same way as Ronin doesn't. They have, there's a little urethane bushing in the top of this hanger in the back of it, and there's also I think it's some sort of plastic sleeve, and then a urethane bushing at the bottom of this pin that allows this to be sort of a floating pin. So the way I did that, if I make this a bit transparent, 3%, then you can see that there's going to be I think that would have been a relatively hard plastic, and a pin that that goes through this hanger and doesn't quite make it through to where the bushing seat is. This is the bushing seat, this part here. I then put these little holes in because I think I needed a way to retain this pivot pin or this dowel pin in there. But yeah, that was my little attempt at a V3 design. I think I might remake a bunch of these components because right now they're just dumb solids. They're just you know, hangovers from back in my SolidWorks days. But yeah, I'd quite like to have one of these sort of sitting on hand in case I ever want to make them again, and have a complete design that looks cool, probably would work, hopefully, and also have a base plate that doesn't look like absolute crap. Yeah, so I'm thinking, so I said in the last video that I'll make a wheel, a polyurethane longboard wheel, and I'll still do that, but then I think I'm just going to do a little series of remaking these parts, because I think having that full assembly would be quite cool. I'll try and also find some of my old models of the boards, like the longboard itself, because I used to design the, you know, concaves and stuff on CAD and shapes and things. So yeah, I'll see how much of that I can dig out, because they're quite cool little things to just look at, and maybe we can get some learnings and Fusion and out of them, and compare that to how they were designed initially in SolidWorks. So yeah, I'm just going to make that visible again, and I might just chuck this into the render environment and see what it looks like. Oh no, actually, quickly, I'm going to do some of the stuff that is awesome in Fusion that I could never do in SolidWorks, and I just really enjoy doing this every time. So in SolidWorks, you would have to go, I mean, if you've never used SolidWorks and you've just come straight to Fusion, you're quite lucky, because things like this you could never do in SolidWorks, and that's what I'm used to. Is I just want a washer on here, something simple, and I want to create a new part. But to do that in SolidWorks, you have to go back and, you know, make a new part file and then import it into your, this would be your assembly file. So I'm going to go new component, and it's going to be a 1mm thick washer. Done. Like, that was like 2 seconds. That's great. So, and then now I'm going to just insert a bolt, and it was a 3/8 bolt I need. 3/8 grade 8 bolt. I could also use a 10mm bolt, but I think I'll stick with this. So I want a come on, let's make this a bit bigger. So I want one of these guys, grade 8 threading. I'm actually going to pause here and maybe I can get it done quickly. 10 1/4 inch. No, I don't like this. Yeah, I'm going to pause here and then find this part and then keep recording. Okay, found what I need, I think. So I'm going to pick this guy and see what's the difference between these. Yellow chrome plated versus aluminium coated. So I'm going to go chromate coated. And I'm going to get product detail and download that as a 3D step. Yep, save that one. That should pop in here. Here we go. So I'll just move that out here so it's easy to find, and then I'll just put a joint in this back face, in the center, and on this circle here. Oops. This circle here in the center. Perfect. Okay. So you can see that's already sized well for that head, and that is a bit long actually. Oh well. I don't care. And I'll also insert a nut, hex nut, block nut, and I want a 3/8 24 high strength and zinc plated again. This is actually, I haven't really used Mastercard that often, but this is pretty easy. There it is. Move it up. Find a new joint position. There we go. Nice. Yeah, so that kingpin's definitely just slightly too long. You can see that you'd just be hitting the ground clearance would just be on this nut rather than on the hanger, which isn't ideal, but it's not the end of the world either. But yeah, it's kind of inherent in this design. So maybe I'll relook at that when I'm redesigning it in Fusion. But yeah, so now that that's kind of looking pretty, although there is a lot of extra thread there, I'm going to chuck it in the render space and just see how it looks. Now you can see how slow my laptop is rendering this. I really do need to get a better computer. So the appearance at the moment is just a hangover from SolidWorks, which is it's their aluminium setting is their aluminium stock surface is a lot duller and lighter than in Fusion. Fusion really shows aluminium as being quite dark. Yeah, this really needs to go over. It's that surface looks really weird to me. It does need to be. It looks really matte, which isn't quite right. So yeah, I'll call that a day, and hopefully I'll see you next time, where I'll make some more longboarding parts. Catch you later.